this evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. So yeah, tonight we will jump into our 2023 street program. Start by just saying that you can observe all this on our website, and then we also got a street map I'll get into a little bit later. Just some previous slides that I've showed in previous years. Just going to remind everybody where we're at. We've got about 143 miles total road miles. That equates to 312 lane miles and about 29 alleys. That's how it's divided up through the city in the different quadrants based off of 4th and Broadway. That's the alleys divided up off of 4th and Broadway. Excuse me. This is our breakdown by type. Really, it's about 85% of our streets have some sort of asphalt overlay on the top surface. The other 20% is concrete. Some other improvements. That's just kind of a stat to show you what it looks like. It just exists. Primarily, all our alleys are gravel. About 60% of those. Just to speak on potholes, this is a clip I found off the internet. I don't believe we're in epic pothole season, but they are more prominent the later you get into spring, just because of moisture. You went through the winter, you're not getting hot mix asphalt. There's a nice American Public Works Association pothole fact sheet out there. On that sheet, I clipped this out of their sheet. 2 factors always present in potholes: traffic and water. Good news is we've got both. That picture is actually from along North Walnut. You can actually see the moisture setting in the brick. I mean, that's something we fight all the time. You can see all the gumballs along the edge, along with tree roots and those type of things that we have to also fight in our streets. Along with just your normal potholes that we have to deal with, this is kind of a representation. So last year, these are our full depth repairs, usually from utility, water main breaks, more specifically. One of them's our street segments, and the other one's our intersection layer. But when I talk about from time to time that we have 100 holes opened up in the city, this is literally 98 that we fixed just last year. That represents just last year of repairs that we did in our street segments. Again, you can always report those through our C-Click Fix app. You get a picture of your location, confirm your location, search your issue. You can also see where they're already at on a map, and then it reports it, pushes it into our work order system. For our actual program ourselves, we kind of divided our program into some basic strategies. I'm actually still leased from someplace else. Preventative maintenance, major rehabilitation, reconstruction, and then just the pothole patching, the small gap repairs. Let me see if I can do this. Nope, did it wrong. From our website, you can get into, we've got a historic interactive map that anyone can look at. You've never been down our street, where are we working around town? This is a reflection clear back to 2011 of all the work we've done. I'll have to apologize, 2022, we didn't, I realized that we hadn't got our crack ceiling measures put in there, so it's a little lower, but that also is reflective of really just trying to get projects back in line, crews, what we're working on. We dialed back some of our segments. Last year we didn't do any rejuvenating agent on any streets, so that kind of skews some of the total lane miles. But again, you can zoom in, fully interactive, click on what happened. That's a 2022 project for an overlay on Washington Street. So it will give you all that information. You can click on whatever, lots of different ways to interact, but you can kind of see the town and play around with it. Oops, back in the slideshow here. that's kind of our summary by quadrant of the different strategies that we use around town. Sales tax information. I kind of go back to 2017 whenever we passed what we were collecting, how our numbers jumped. Last year we did collect our monthly average around 231,000. We collected about 2.7 million. This goes back to 2003, but really this slide just represents, we're always trying to leverage as much outside money from KDOT and other agencies as we can to help repair streets. This is just a list of all those projects. Most recently, the C-Clip project on Broadway from 2nd to 11th, 4th Street overpass was a KDOT project, and then Quincy Street is a cost share where we're about a $7 million project that we've got $3 million in. They have $3.5 million covering that cost. So we're always trying to find ways to leverage other people's money. Just kind of reminder what those look like whenever they're done. The 4th Street overpass downtown. Kind of an update on the East Quincy project. If you happen to be by there today, we were able to kind of the western side of Ralph Street. They were able to start laying down geogrid and putting rock on that, so we've kind of got ourselves out of the mud finally on that part, and they'll be looking to pour that here soon. They do have the storm line into about Stillwell, water line on the other side of the track. The track crossing has been installed. Most of the grade's been cut along Quincy between the tracks and Rouse. They're just, again, kind of fighting through the winter weather with the dirt, and that'll go pretty quick once it's done. To date, they've used 98 working days, but there's still 202 remaining because it is a working day contract. That's kind of just an aerial overview. Currently, you can see the new concrete poured on the east side. Grade cut is kind of where we are to date, and then you can see some of the storm lines that are already installed, catch basins or area inlets, curb inlets down along that's been installed. One of the things that I like to just kind of remind is we get a lot of questions around plan our streets, why don't you do more big improvements, those type of things. We do have a list out there on our 5-year plan that you as commissioners adopt. Some of them are, our best guess of what is out there. There's things that we know about, but they do take a lot of money, but we put them out there just to know that they do exist. Some of the decision factors that go into how we plan streets, where we work, where we don't, always where we're at financially. It is a pay-as-you-go program that we collect off the sales tax, so kind of where we're at financially. Obviously the project cost, we utilize traffic counts, and we've got our what we consider arterials, collectors, those type of things, where we can do the most good, most amount of money. Kind of what the street condition is, street material, what our internal capabilities are, external capabilities. Sometimes that changes around different development projects, and then also we do look at trying to distribute around the city as equally as we can as well. That's just kind of a map of the KDOT traffic counts. It's kind of jumbled there, but you've got kind of the big map. That's just an area that's actually Atkinson Broadway. You can just kind of see the traffic counts there. 4th and Broadway out to Rouse. Just kind of know that exists, and that's some of the things that we look at. For a typical new construction street, that's the basic design around a street. About 31 foot back to back, general construction. This is actually North Walnut that was put in 2018, I believe. It's kind of just a visual of what that looks like. On a new construction street, just, that one was about $450 a lineal foot. You can put inflation on some of these numbers because my slides are a little bit old, but it's a good representation of just kind of what a new construction. That's no engineering or inspection, no demolition. It's a pretty simple, straightforward. A lot of the mass grading was already done, but just kind of what a simple new construction looks like. This is an area of random estates. This is south of Centennial. The left picture, you can see the oxidized streets where they're all gray. You can kind of see the cracking and that. On the right hand side, you can see after we've paved it, that was basically a 2-inch mill and overlay. You know, that from a standpoint was around $50 a lineal foot, just putting a 2-inch mill and overlay in a project like that. East Quincy, this project, you know, is roughly 3,800 linear foot. It is going to be 3-lane, curb and gutter, sidewalks on both sides. It has a track crossing, a little bit of signal improvement, storm drainage. That project overall was a $7 million project once you include design, engineering, inspection. If you take that part out, it's a $5.3 million project just on the construction contract. If I take out the water line improvements that we had to do, it's about 4.9. If you base that off the total cost of the contract, that's $1,800 a foot to put in a project like that. Get everything else weeded out of there. That's just basic drainage improvements, curb and gutter, and pavement. You're about 1,300 foot. So you can see how some of the cost, when you're talking about this far, what kind of money you're putting down just on different projects. So those big projects, the total reconstruction, get expensive real quick. Again, I kind of took from those previous numbers, I run that off. If we looked at just saying, doing a 2-inch mill and overlay on every asphalt street that we had in town, that's about a $29 million number. If we replaced all our concrete streets today, just even with 6 inches concrete, that's a $37 million number. The ones below kind of gets a little more into perspective. On a 2-inch, just say a single block, 350 feet long, 2 12-foot lanes, that's about $17,000. To do that in the same block, if it was in concrete, that's about $86,000. Those are pretty bare bone cost. No inspection, anything like that. So this year, moving on, we've identified about six projects internally that we'd like to take on if we can get all the stars to align this year. One of them, College Street, we kind of had on our radar for a while. For different reasons, we haven't got it started, but we're looking to go that away. Locust down north of 4th Street between Broadway and Elm. Forest from Georgia to Broadway, Kansas, Georgia to Walnut, Elm, 4th to Quincy, and from about 7th and Stillwell off to the northeast to about 10th over to Rouse. Kind of give you some maps of that. That's your Elm Street project. 4th going south down to Quincy. That's Kansas and Forest, and then you see the little strip of College down in front of Lakeside over to Jefferson. There's your Locust, some of the side streets between there. These are all ones that we believe we can strip off, asphalt off a brick and do it internally. Same way in the Stillwell, 7th and Stillwell area, in that little quadrant. A lot of those are 2-lane, or country style paved roads, no curb and gutter, open ditches, so we can just kind of overlay on those. Projects we're going to try to do, we're going to award to contractors. 27th Street, this would be between Broadway and Joplin. This would be on the south side of the Walmart Supercenter. That road is, it's end of life, and then some. So we're right now working on the design for that. We're going to go out to bid for that project. It's, we think we can leave the curb and gutter in place and just replace the concrete panels. We've put patches in it. It's just going to have to be redone. It was put in 92 or 93 whenever the Supercenter came in. It gets a lot of traffic, so it's time to do it. But that'll be a fairly sizable project, and we will go out to award for that. Another place on 27th Street Terrace, out in the industrial park. We have a bridge there, out by SeaTech kind of. there's a couple panels across that bridge and that box culvert that need to be replaced. They've had some cracking and settlement over that box that we're going to put that out to bid as well. So one of the programs that we use now with KDOT that we just did, actually this program helped us with, before it was a clink and then they redid everything. We used to, a lot of 4th and Broadway, or Broadway Street and 4th Street, we used them when it was a clink project. They changed it to a clip. The 20th and the bypass intersection, we utilized money from these funds to have that improvement out there. We partnered with KDOT in that. Most recently, we just did Broadway with C-CLIP money. They divide the program into three different forms to submit for. This is the agreement in 1986 that we entered into. What roads are connected on or designated of the state highway system to be involved with. That's a better representation than reading the legal. But basically, there's 2 sections there along Highway 69 that are ours, as well as 4th Street and Broadway. So those are all the eligible streets that we have that we can participate with, that we can use C-CLIP funds for. One of the ones we applied for and continue to apply for is for 4th and Joplin. We want to add in turn lanes. That's about a $1.5 million project. Basically going from 3rd to 5th, adding east-west turn lanes through that intersection and doing traffic signal improvements. Sorry. Another one that we're pricing out right now to turn in for the end of this month. Along the bypass, there's a section just north of 4th. Concrete turns into asphalt up until 20th Street. And then basically at Atkinson and Broadway, you have the concrete panels through the intersection, and there's another little stretch of asphalt through there. That's an overhead view of the concrete or the asphalt along the bypass. You can see all the cracking starting to happen. There's just north of Atkinson and Broadway. You see, I mean, it looks like an alligator back. It's pretty fatigued. That's just north of Atkinson and Broadway. Some of the concrete panels. You can see we've patched some of them, but they continue to fail. So those, we're working on prices for that, and going to continue to try and get money through KDOT to do that. This is north of 4th Street. You can see basically that's in the travel lane, the wheel lane on that concrete section as you go north out of 4th. So there are areas that are on our radar that we don't want to patch any more than we have to, but working to leverage funds to get those repaired. Just kind of in conclusion, we still have our sidewalk program. This is kind of where we're at today. We've closed about 32 tickets. We still have quite a few that are open. Continuing to work with property owners. Greg does a great job with that. We do still have a little bit of struggle of getting concrete. We're still kind of fighting through some of those issues, just deliveries and those things, but we're making it work. But we still get interest in that, and we're still working to get those going. One other thing that we are working on, kind of behind the scenes, is we are working on an inventory, I don't know where it went, there we go, our sidewalks in town. So a lot of the sidewalks are still brick, overgrown, those type of things. So we're just kind of taking an inventory of those just to know what we have existing. So that's kind of the end of my presentation. Be happy to entertain any questions you may have.
You said you're going out for bids on 27th Street and the bridge out by C-Tech.
Mm-hmm.
Is that some projects are going to be done this year or started this year? Or?
That's our goal. Have them started this year. Yep.
Yeah. Because I get a lot of calls on 27th Street, and I drive a school bus over that bridge by C-Tech, and
yeah, we've got them surveyed. We're working on the design part of it, and I hope to have them to bid them out late mid-spring. So.
Cheryl, any questions?
No, sir.
No, I have none. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job, Matt.
Yes.
Thanks, Matt.
Good luck. We have 7 minutes till the meeting can start, so I'm gonna talk about Matt for 7 minutes. No, I'm kidding. But I don't wanna not acknowledge the effort that crew puts in. We have pavement, we have concrete, we have gravel, we have culverts, we've got some bridges. Some stuff's real new, some stuff's way too old, and we do focus on getting the bang for the buck, but Matt has a plan. He doesn't just willy-nilly drive to work every day and do the roads on the way to his office, so appreciate the effort and the data that they put behind that, and a lot of that is out on the web, so if you want to go check it out, a lot of work's gone into those interactive maps, but the information's out there. I think the number, if you take away a number today, it was to pave everything that we have is $29 million, and we have about $2.4 million a year, so we spread it around where we can, but
Yeah, I didn't really highlight it, but if you looked at the 5-year, you know, the way out column in that, there's $110 million worth of street projects. You know, when we look at that, you know, Free Kings, East Quincy, Atkinson, you know, a lot of those big improvements to really, I mean, boy, you start talking about big dollars on a lot of those to fix them the way they need to be fixed. You know, drainage improvements, widening, those type of things, so.
thanks, Matt.
One of the things we have to remember, that a lot of streets in Pittsburgh still have an underlayment of brick, which does not make great for longevity of asphalt, or really anything on top of it, because the expansion and contraction of the brick during the course of the winter and the summer makes it very difficult to maintain streets across the top of that. I wish we had the $20-some million so we could take care of that, but.
We'll take checks if you wanna write one.
Yeah, I'll write you a check, sure.
Take a lot of checks.
Win the lottery, Matt.
We've got
He'd probably be gone, he wouldn't.
Thank you, Mayor Commissioners.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Good job, Matt.